Hi everyone, hope you all are doing great. My name is Dr. Amar Adare and I'm a radiologist. Today, I'm sharing a recording from our recent radiology webinar. If you wish to join us live for these, I shall leave links to our social media groups in the description section. Make sure you visit radiogyan.com and subscribe to the Radio Gyan YouTube channel for more radiology content.
For those who are not well versed with MRI or still learning, I'll talk about the sequences first, and later we can talk about the imaging findings. So the first sequence on my left is an axial T2 weighted fat saturated image. So the subcutaneous fat, all of it is suppressed, while the fluid density structures such as the fluid in the spinal canal is hyperintense. So this is a T2 weighted fat saturated sequence. This image here is a 3D MRCP. So what this does is suppresses everything else except for fluid. So you'll see the fluid intensity structures better in these sequence. So this is known as the MRCP sequence. This is the same MRCP sequence, but it is a single shot sequence. So it's kind of a MIP. What we do is we combine all the images and give a single image that reflects multiple slices together. So that is a MIP sequence. Okay. So now I'll move on to the case. This patient was an elderly female who presented with long-standing jaundice. We did an ultrasound and CT which were negative. We were not able to find out what the cause was, but her bilirubin was persistently elevated. So the clinician requested an MRCP to look for any other cause. I'll move through the images, and in the meanwhile you guys can chat your answers or findings that you see in the chat box. For people who are watching it later on YouTube, you can type in your answers in the comments section as I go through these images. So here's the MRCP. Okay, that is the image with the finding. Does anybody see any focal abnormality? Okay, so what we see here is that there is, you see the gallbladder. Okay, aberrant vessel crossing the CBD, not really. That's not the finding that I'm looking for. Is there anything else? Okay, strictures. In the MIP, there's a small dilatation at the ampulla. So Dr. Zeba is right. You've correctly pointed out the abnormality. I'll zoom in so that everyone is able to appreciate this abnormality. So if you see, there is a cystic dilatation of the CBD at its terminal end. I hope you're able to appreciate it here. I'll move the actual T2 weighted images at the same level, so you're able to appreciate. Does everyone appreciate this cystic dilatation of the CBD near the ampulla? Okay, so this was, now can anybody think of the diagnosis, what this can be? Okay, Dr. Adil has rightly pointed out a choledococele, or okay, yeah, everybody is right. Dr. Shirisha, Dr. Neriman, Dr. Ala, Yash. So this is a choledococele or a type 3 choledocal cyst. So this was responsible for the patient's symptom. There's an additional finding. Let's see if you can pick it up. I know it's difficult to pick it up in real time. Obviously, when you get a case, you'll get say half an hour to 1 hour to properly look at all the images. But I'll guide you guys, and let's see if you can pick up the findings. So this is the pancreatic duct. I'm going to trace the pancreatic duct medially, and let's see where it goes. Okay, it ends here. and the CBD is opening here. So again, the pancreatic duct is opening here and the CBD is opening here. So do you think, does anybody think of any diagnosis for this anomaly? Does anybody know what this anomaly is called as? Okay, perfect. So this is what is known as a pancreatic divisum. Normally what happens is that the CBD and pancreatic duct unite together to open into the ampulla. In some cases, what can happen is that the pancreatic duct opens separately in the minor papilla while the CBD opens separately into the duodenum. So this was also a case of pancreatic divisum. And as Dr. Nermian, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, rightly pointed out, the patient also has these cystic dilatations close to the pancreatic duct, which are probably side branch IPMNs. We'll discuss IPMNs in a separate lecture, but today's lecture we are going to concentrate on this type 3 choledochal cyst or choledococele and associated pancreatic divisum. Type 3 choledochal cyst is very rare. The most common type is type 1, which we often see, but this was a very interesting case. This was the first time that I saw a type 3 choledochal cyst, and I thought that I will share with you guys. So that was the case. I'll go over the images once again in case anybody wants to see them, and I'll revise the findings. So we have a cystic dilatation of the CBD at its ampulla, which is also known as a choledochal cyst or a type 3 choledochal cyst or a choledococele. Additionally, this patient also had a separate opening of the pancreatic duct, which is known as pancreatic divisum. A few cystic lesions are also associated with the pancreatic duct. We do not see definite communication in a few of them, but these are probably side branch IPMNs. Let's move on to the discussion for the case. I'll start sharing the presentation again. So this was a case of choledochal cyst. So what is a choledochal cyst? A choledochal cyst is congenital cystic dilatation of the biliary tree. The typical clinical presentation is a triad of abdominal pain, jaundice, and abdominal mass. Most commonly we see these in the pediatric age group, but adult presentation is not uncommon. Like we saw it in our case. This was a very elderly female. It is commonly associated with biliary atresia and hepatic fibrosis. The complications that we need to remember, the important complications are 3 C's, that is calculi, carcinoma, and cyst rupture with peritonitis. So the complications, the mnemonic, the way I remember is 3 C's in choledochal cyst. So the choledochal cyst starts with a C, its complications are also 3 C's. That includes calculi, because there is bile stasis that gives rise to calculi. Again, because bile can cause irritation to the mucosa, it is static bile, not normal bile which is flowing, but if there is bile which is stagnant for a long period of time, that can irritate the mucosa and give rise to carcinoma. And lastly, cyst rupture is very rare. Because these are associated with calculi, they can cause pancreatitis. The treatment is surgical excision with reconstruction. So this is a very common classification that is used to classify choledochal cysts. Does anybody know what this classification is known as? Perfect. So this is known as the Todani classification of choledochal cysts. Type 1 is the cystic dilatation of the extrahepatic bile duct, as you see in the image here. That is the most common type. There are subtypes, but what I would like you to do is remember the important types. What happens is that whenever we see a classification and there are sub-classification, we get confused, like it complicates things. Like for example, there is 1A, 1B, 1C. So as a first step, try to remember the main classification. Once you're well versed with the main classification and you use it a couple of times, then you can go down to the subtypes. Because otherwise what happens is that when we see these, at least that happens with me, that I get confused when there are multiple subtypes to a particular classification. So it's easier to remember the main classification first, get well versed with it, and then go on to the subclassification. So that's like a practical tip. Okay, so moving on to the Todani classification, the type 1 cyst is cystic dilatation of the CBD. That is the most common choledochal cyst that you will see. The second type of choledochal cyst is a diverticulum from the CBD. The third type is a choledococele or cystic dilatation of the intraduodenal part of the CBD, as we saw it in our case. Type 4 is multiple cysts. We'll try not to go into subclassifications. So type 4 is associated with multiple cysts. And type 5 is a special type known as Caroli's disease, where there are multiple intrahepatic bile duct dilatation or multiple intrahepatic cysts. So if you remember the classification, the imaging appearance follows that, and it's easier to interpret the images that way, because otherwise on imaging there's not much to talk about. Coming to the pathophysiology, does anybody know what causes these choledochal cysts? What is the theory behind the formation of choledochal cysts? The postulated mechanism, you can chat in your answers. Okay, I'll wait for a couple of more seconds and then I'll talk about it. Okay, good. Good that not a lot of you know about it. So I'm sure it's going to be helpful. It's very interesting. So the pathophysiology behind the formation of choledochal cyst is what is known as an anomalous pancreatico-biliary junction. Okay, so yes, so as a few people have pointed out, it is a congenital anomaly, and the reason is reflux from pancreatic secretions. Normally, the pancreas and the cystic duct and the common bile duct have a short union. So they have a short union and they unite at an acute angle. So pancreatic secretions enter separately and bile enters separately. What happens in an anomalous pancreatico-biliary junction is that the junction is long. So imagine there are two pipes that are coming in and they have like a long common union. So if there is water coming in from one pipe, and it can obviously go and reflux into the other pipe if the junction is long. If the junction is short, it makes it difficult for the water to come out from the pipe one and then go back into the second pipe. But if the junction is long and the ampulla is closed, pancreatic secretions can get into the common duct and then get back into the CBD, reflux back into the CBD. And if you have reported CTs or have seen a lot of cases with acute pancreatitis, these pancreatic enzymes are notorious for causing necrosis everywhere. So if there is a patient with acute pancreatitis and say duct rupture, you've seen secretions which can go into multiple tissue planes and cause lysis. So these pancreatic enzymes are very offensive, or you say aggressive. As long as they are within the pancreatic duct, everything's fine. But the moment they come out of the pancreatic duct, they can cause a lot of complications. So what they cause is, once they reflux into the bile duct, they can cause dilatation. And it's the same reason that these choledochal cysts are a predisposing factor for cholangiocarcinoma, because pancreatic enzymes again can cause mucosal necrosis, and that is one of the factors which leads to carcinoma in a choledochal cyst. The other interesting finding is that normally the pancreatic duct and CBD enter at an acute angle. So they have an acute angle. So it makes it difficult for pancreatic juices to reflux. But once the angle is obtuse or right angle, it makes it easy for the pancreatic enzymes to reflux. So remember that an anomalous pancreaticobiliary junction is the pathophysiology responsible for choledochal cyst formation. So does anybody know what is the cutoff criteria for the long common channel? After what length is it called abnormal? After what length of common channel is the pancreaticobiliary junction called abnormal? Okay, so 12 millimeter. So 15 millimeter is the cutoff that is sensitive for a long pancreaticobiliary junction. So remember this value. So if the pancreaticobiliary junction or the common channel is more than 15 millimeter, it's known as anomalous pancreaticobiliary junction. There's a classification for this junction which is known as Comey's classification. The main classification you have to remember in a choledochal cyst is Todani's classification, but additionally there is a classification for the union, the way these ducts unite. So again, we'll remember the main subtypes, main types, and not look at the subtypes now. So type 1 is when the union is at a right angle. So this is the pancreatic duct, this is the common bile duct, this is the common channel, and they are opening at right angles. So that is type 1. Acute angle is type 2. And when there are multiple anomalies, including multiple channels or say pancreatic divisum, that is known as type 3. So our case was a pancreatic divisum, but it didn't have a long pancreaticobiliary junction. So I did try to look at it, but it didn't have a long pancreaticobiliary junction. So the next time you see a choledochal cyst, do not stop there. Try to look at the junction and see if you can see an abnormal junction. Coming to the imaging, imaging is simple. If you understand the classification, it makes it easier. On ultrasound, what you will see is an anechoic cystic lesion which communicates with the biliary tract. The important feature to remember is that we should see it separately from the gallbladder. The most common subtype of choledochal cyst is a type 1 choledochal cyst, which is cystic dilatation of the extrahepatic bile duct. So if you're doing an ultrasound and you see a cystic structure, you may confuse that with the gallbladder. So always make sure that if you are calling a choledochal cyst, always document the gallbladder separately from it. If you can't see the gallbladder, call back the patient the next day with overnight fasting and document the gallbladder separately from the choledochal cyst. Coming to CT, it will be a non-enhancing cystic structure. So a simple way to remember the imaging findings is that these cysts will follow the imaging appearance that of bile ducts. So because they are just dilated bile ducts, everything would be as similar to bile ducts. So non-enhancing cystic structures, and depending on the subtype, you can have different appearances. In terms of complications, you look for wall thickening or enhancing solid nodules. That would be a pointer towards carcinoma. If you see complex fluid, that can be due to infection. Thickened abnormal wall or a solid nodule would raise the suspicion of carcinoma. MRCP is the imaging modality of choice because it will show all the dilated bile ducts and their communication with the biliary system, which we may not be able to see on CT or ultrasound because of the higher resolution of MRI. So MRCP is the investigation of choice. We can also do hepatobiliary specific agent, which can also delineate these bile ducts better in the delayed phase, but that is not necessary. So that was the imaging appearance, pathophysiology, and what we need to look for and report in a choledochal cyst. If anybody has any questions, we can answer them in the next couple of minutes. Okay, so what is the cause of jaundice? So that's an interesting point. Even we were thinking what could be the cause, because although there is a cyst lying there, it was not causing obstruction in the image, like the CBD and the intrahepatic bile ducts were not dilated. So what we think is that this cyst was causing dynamic obstruction. So probably it was prolapsing or increasing in size, and that caused obstruction to the bile duct flow. But this patient underwent a sphincterotomy, and that relieved the symptoms. So this was the cause, but even we were not very sure what was the cause, like what was the specific cause of jaundice in this patient. I think somebody asked about a differential, about a calculus. Okay, an impacted stone causing back pressure changes would definitely be a differential in this case. Thank you, Dr. Zeba, for your question. So it can obviously be a cause. In our case, there was no calculus. And the other important point which you can help to distinguish that is that in that case, there will be uniform dilatation of the CBD rather than very focal dilatation that we saw in our case. Hope that answers your question. Okay, I don't think there are any more questions. Okay, thank you guys for joining me today, and hopefully you guys learned something new. And okay, how many % risk of malignant changes in choledochal cyst? I think around 10%, I'm not sure, but we'll have to confirm that. Okay, thank you everyone, and apologies for the audio issues in the middle. We're trying to iron them out as and when we do these presentations more frequently. And hopefully you guys learned something new today, and it will help you in your clinical practice. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Hope you guys liked the video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for all future video updates. If you have any suggestions, you can leave them in the comments section. Thank you.